Man, I got to say, this is cool for me for two reasons. Well, a lot of reasons. But I've presented a lot of conferences. It's the first time I've ever been to TSAC, and the first time I come here, I get to present, and I get to do it and hang with some of my best buds in the fitness world, the Sorenex family, and who sponsored this event. So, this has just been a great time, and I look forward to meeting all you guys. So come by the booth and hang out. We were talking shop. We were talking about zombie apocalypse. Before I taught here, I got taken out for my pre-burger, double cheeseburger, before I talk about fat loss. So far, a good experience. So let's get right into this, because I don't have a lot of time, but we should be able to get it all in, because I'm really going to focus on one concept. So the concept that we're going to talk about, you can take out of here and apply on your own, and you can put in your own variations. And in fact, I encourage that. I'm not here. The one thing I'm not here to do, everybody tells you what they're here to do. What I'm not here to do is inject you with, oh, I say this, therefore it's right, or I can't give you answers to questions. All I can do is share with you my experiences and the rationale behind the answers that I've come up with when dealing with clients of different levels. What you take from that, that's where your answers come from. That's where your knowledge is going to come from. Some of these things you might go, man, that's really cool. I don't have the space for that, but I can adapt it this way. That's where it comes from, your part, going out of here. So I'm just sharing some concepts that I found beneficial. They're flexible, and they can be easily adapted to different training scenarios and situations. I'm going to show you some of my top ways to use the concept. So beyond the protocol, beyond the specific demonstrations, you're going to take away the concept. So technically what I call these is hybrid locomotion complexes. For the title, we changed it to hybrid metabolic complexes. So HMC means hybrid metabolic complexes. HLC is hybrid locomotion complexes. So not to get you guys confused with the name, you'll hear me most often refer to them as HLCs, but whatever you prefer to call them. So we're just going to kind of do the who, what, where, how, why, and get right into it. What they are, who we use it with, why we use it, some of the protocols, and I'm going to keep it as practical as possible with specifics. Now, I already got my intro, and that's what I do, but it's not who I am. I'm not going to let you guys spend an hour with me and not know a little bit about who I am, take a piece of me with you. So that's my best bud, Zen. That's my dog, so you get to meet my dog. So now you know a little bit about who I am. So in the title, especially if you're just writing a book on fat loss, the first thing you should think, come on, Nick. Fat loss is about diet. Calories in, calories out. There's no fat loss workouts, just like there's no men workouts and women's workouts. It's just workout principles. And you are 100% correct. So the difference, really, when we come down to it, and I just want to make sure this is clear, between fat loss workouts, which is really metabolic conditioning, that's the sexy new term these days, and conditioning workouts is really what you put in your mouth. So if I'm trying to improve somebody's work capacity, I might not necessarily be worried about having them in a caloric deficit, because their idea is not to strip fat, it's just to improve their work capacity. But because of the metabolic nature of that type of training, you combine that with a caloric deficit, and you can call that more training for the goal of fat loss. So that's really the only difference. So the important thing to keep in mind, and this would be more speaking for general fitness, is that some people train for defense, other people train for offense. So that's just your client. How many of you personal trainers in here? All right? Or you do some other, some personal training on the side. You have clients, just like I do and just like I had for years, that never look any different. They'll train with you for 5 years, and they haven't looked any different, and they'll train with you for 15 more years, and they still won't look any different. That is not your problem. I've never liked the saying, oh, well, look at the trainer. If they're no good, the client looks the same. No, you can't babysit that person at home. They're working out with you, it's a cheesy saying, I know, just for the health of it. But they don't want to change their lifestyle. They still want to eat Krispy Kreme and lasagna, and you know what? Good for them. They're just working out to offset that stuff. That's cool. So fat loss is training and eating for offense. That's the difference. So difference between fat loss workout, conditioning workouts, protocols are the same. It's just calorie intake. So what is a hybrid metabolic complex or a hybrid locomotion complex? Here's what it is. we have locomotion type drills. And I'm getting ahead of myself on the slides, but just for the sake of time. 4 different types of loaded locomotion type movements. You have sled work. Now there's 2 types of ways to apply the sled. I call it sled pulling. That's either with the handles pulling the sled backwards or pulling the sled while you're facing forward. And by the way, I like to use to use 2 handles, because when you shorten up the handles, sometimes, especially if you're taller, your heels will hit the sled. So I call that sled pulling. Sled pushing would be if I was using like a Sornex root hog sled or another sled variation with handles up like this, pushing this way. That's what I call sled pushing. Then we have plate push, so 3rd variation of resisted locomotion. That's the locomotion in this HLC. We have a sled push or a plate push. That's where you would take a weight plate, put it on the ground. If you're in like a basketball court, you put a towel underneath it, and you're in like a plank position and you run it down the floor. You guys are all familiar with this stuff. For a sled, something like this, we just brought one sled, it would be like that. We'll get to demos in a bit. The 4th version is farmer's carries. There's really 3 types of carries: hip carry, racked carry or shoulder carry, overhead carry. I don't really go with the overhead carry stuff. I'm here, I'm here. And when you get to carries, the shoulder carry is nice when their grip starts to go. So, oh, I got to stop, my grip's going. No, you got to cheat it up, get it up, keep going. So that's nice to not have to be limited by grips. So we intersperse one of those types of 4 that I just listed with in-place dumbbell exercises, basic dumbbell movements. And we split these up, the body up into the 4 fundamental strength training movements, which are pushing, bless you, pushing, pulling, that's upper body pushing, pulling, lower body hinging, or some people call it hip dominant, deadlifting, and then lower body squatting or bending, which could be a squat, lunge, something like that. So we normally, in these protocols, we're going to get 7 exercises, 3 bouts of a locomotion with the same protocol, either a farmer carry or some version of a sled or a plate push, with 4 different dumbbell exercises. And you go back and forth between those until you finish them. So I'll show you some of my favorite protocols. So I just went over that. Just quick review. There's your 4 types of locomotion methods. Pulling, forward or reverse. Pushing, that would be with handles. Low sled pushes, that's with your hands on the sled or on a plate push. The plate's on the floor. And by the way, if you want more weight, you take dumbbells and put them inside the 45-pound weight plate. Or farmer's walk, suitcase or hip carry or shoulder. Now I want to go over this real fast. I know you guys are tired and you want to see somebody get worked. You want to see some demonstration. So I want to tell you why we use these real quick, along with some other different types of protocols. One, they're high intensity. So use challenging loads or lighter loads lifted at more volume. Both of those are ways to increase intensity. They involve the total body. Put simple, more muscles work, more calories you burn. So we're involving the entire body. I know I broke all the rules on slides with these, too many words, so I'm just summarizing it. It's just for your benefit if you want to read it when you look at your notes. They demand a repetitive effort, so they're extended. So when you combine high intensity total body over an extended period of time, you get a big metabolic disturbance. And lastly, I'm going to zero in on this one. You're less likely to lose muscle when you're using that muscle, when you're doing more like metabolic strength training concepts versus just general aerobic type stuff. Interesting study. I actually have seen this study pop up in some recent articles like twice, so somehow it's had a resurgence or whatnot. But in 1999, there was a study that took 2 groups. I'm just going to summarize. They put them on an extremely low-calorie diet, an 800-calorie diet. And the reason why they did that is to take away any sort of chance that caloric intake was affecting the results. One group did an aerobic exercise protocol, walking, biking, jogging, 4 times per week. The other group was given a resistance training protocol only 3 times per week. After 12 weeks, both groups lost weight. Okay, well, what was fat? What was, was it just water weight? Was it this, that, and the other? The aerobic group lost 37 pounds, 27 of it was from fat, 10 from muscle. The resistance training group worked out 1 day less, only on 800 calories, mind you, lost 32 pounds, all 32 pounds from fat, 0 from muscle. That's pretty cool. And also when they looked at the resting metabolic rate after the study was done, they found that the aerobic, the cardio group, was burning about 210 fewer calories daily, whereas the resistance training group was increased by 36 calories per day. If you want the reference to that study, my email is my name, nicktumminello@gmail.com. I'll email you the reference. So that's kind of the rationale why we're using some of these things. All right, had to get my Anchorman reference in there. So do I have anybody who wants to try any of these? Anybody who's, I got to have somebody who wants to impress their colleagues. My man. Right on. What's your name, brother? Gary? Yeah. All right, Gary, you earned yourself a free book at least. Yeah, see that? Only he gets it, nobody else, because he was the first. So, all right, so here's what we're going to do. We'll walk through this. And everything that we're doing is right up here, and it's in your notes. So we're going to do a sled pull hybrid locomotion complex. Now I'm just going to have you go through the motions. I'm not going to, we just kind of guessed on the weights and things like that. So let's go through the movements first. Hang on a sec, Gary. So these are going to be, actually, what do we got? We'll use these right here. So you're going to use the sled and these dumbbells right here. So let's go through the 4 dumbbell exercises, just so I know that you got those. All right, so grab those for me. You have anything I need to know about, shoulder, hip, knee, anything like that? All right, so if there's anything that you think is going to hurt you, whatever, don't do it. We'll air it. All right, sounds good. So here are the 4 movements. Station 1 is a dumbbell uppercut. If you don't like the exercises I'm choosing, choose another exercise. Just look at how I'm organizing these things. So you start here. And you turn, and you press, turn, press. Yep, and if you don't want to do it on one side, then that's fine. So one more each side. We're just going through the movements so I know that you got them. All right, good. So that'll be your first station. And I'll tell you the reps when we get into it. Keep the dumbbells. Then you'll sled up, sled back. Then you're going to go dumbbell high pulls. So you're just here to here wide. All right? If you think that's going to hurt you, yep, put a little body into it. Right? So here's what you do. Just do a deadlift to shrug if that's going to bug the shoulder. All right? Then we do bent over rows. I'm sure you got those, no problem. And then dumbbell RDLs to shrug, that'll be no problem. Cool? Yeah. Okay, so we will start with your uppercuts, 5 to 7 reps per side. Can you swing that? Yeah, I can do that. Okay, so we're going to get right to it. I will be your weight on the sled. Okay. All right, my man? Yep. All right, here we go, 5 to 7. Let's go 5 per side at your pace. So this is how it rolls in real time. Now, I've never worked with him, so I never would just give somebody a whole bunch of exercises I never knew they would do. So I'd make sure he did all these exercises first before we'd hit him with this. All right, Gary. So first one, you're going to do a reverse sled. So facing me, I'll be your weight. Don't yank me, please. Nice and smooth. Good. We're just going to take me to the end of the, right to the screen. So we're going to go about 15 to 20 yards. We'll spin it around. So the nice thing about this sled, look, just goes this way. Yep. Whoa. Okay. So you're back to the dumbbells. So what's next? Dumbbell high pulls, 5 to 7. Do you want to skip those, or are you good? Okay, just go like maybe to here, right? A little bit of body English. So we put one reverse in there, then he'll go forward. So 5 to 7, Gary. Spin this back around. So now you're facing away from me, wrist by your pockets, and you're walking like this. I don't want your hands to end up like this. Look at me. I don't want you like this. I want you like this. Let's do it. Nice and smooth. So if you guys notice, okay, good, and then take it back home. So if you guys notice, I don't have a lot of lower body intensive dumbbell exercises. Why is that? Because it's here. right? So what's getting a chance to recover a little bit while he's doing this? There you go. So that way we can keep the intensity up. Bent over rows, please. 5 to 7, depends on how you feel. We can keep the intensity up without developing too much local muscle fatigue. That enables him to keep a higher intensity level for a longer period of time. Make sense? Right? Now we're doing the same one you just did. There's only one reverse. How you feeling, all right? Good? Nice deliberate steps. And notice I'm not rushing him, but the goal is keep working. Now, it should be pretty obvious to you that unless you're doing some sort of special circuit conditioning day, I like to put this at the end of a comprehensive strength workout after you do your big lifts and all that stuff. That being said, for like a lot of the physique competitors, or if we're working with, good brother, hold on 1 second and I'll keep you moving. RDL to shrug, all right, 10 to 14 there. Why am I giving him more reps on this one? Because this is his strongest exercise. So we put it at the end because we're keeping the weight the same. A shrug, not a high pull. Yeah. So you can just go, you can go here to here or RDL to shrug, whichever one you prefer, all right? So we're putting the hardest exercise first because it's the same weight. This is one of my issues I have when I see people do complexes. If you're doing a barbell complex or a dumbbell complex, why are you doing the same? Gary, nice work, brother. Give him a hand. Why are you doing the same rep range with a weight that if you can do a shoulder press, 8 reps, then how easy is that for an RDL? So if you're doing sets of 6, why are you only doing 6 deadlifts? You should be doing at least 15. And put the hardest or the easiest exercise at the end, so that way it's harder because you're more fatigued. Make sense? So it's not just when we talk about metabolic training, somehow we've got off into it's just got to be hard and make the people feel like they're going to crawl out of the gym. There can be some thought behind it in regards to how are you going to acquire that fatigue, how are you going to manipulate the exercises. So that's how we do it. We look at push, pull, and if I'm really doing something lower body intensive, I don't need to hit that within the dumbbell exercises. And if I do something that's pulling, the next exercise I do something that's more pushing. Or if I hit this vector, I'm going to do a different vector. So that way I can keep a higher intensity longer and minimize local muscle fatigue. So that's the thought process not only with the protocol, but when you're inserting the exercises that you guys can start using your imagination for. So I'm going to show you 7 samples, like practical examples in front of you. So, Gary, don't let me forget, I'll get you a book before you split, all right, brother? So, now, the second version that you can do with all these, and this will apply to the sled, complexes, farmer's walks, all those, is you can do them unilateral. So, every exercise that we just did, or we had Gary do, we can go all left side, then all right side. Then sled up, sled back, next exercise. So 1 arm row, and go. So that's going to make the complex longer. And what else happens when you go single side with a dumbbell? What else automatically has to? Absolutely. Deal with the offset load. So you'll also find as you get tired, you really start to, you heard him towards the end, you really have to start to sip air because now this is getting fatigued. Which I like because if you're talking in an MMA situation or where you're carrying somebody and something is right up against you, you have to be able to sip air. You can't really expand your belly like you'd like. So does anybody want to try the single arm version? Nobody wants to look bad in front of their peers. Come on. All right, fine. I'll do a quick little demo of just the dumbbell exercises. I'm not going to run through the whole workout. So it would be the same sequence, except we go single arm. This is what it would look like. You can do regular presses. You can do push press, kettlebell, whatever you like. I like adding this in because it gives me a little hip internal rotation on this side, a little more torso. It just makes the exercise a little more dynamic. Okay, so I'd go sled. I'd go right side, then left side. The reps are up there for you. Then I like one-arm dumbbell swings. You don't have to have a kettlebell to do swings. This is what we would look like. I like minimal equipment. Both sides, right or left. Whatever arm you start with, you always start with that one. Sled. Freestanding bent over row. That's here. Both sides. Sled again. And then one arm, one leg, dumbbell, RDO. All right, both sides. So if you look at how these exercises are distributed, we have an upper body push overhead. That's going to be the hardest one, so we put it first. Dumbbell swing, that's kind of posterior chain. Start to get the heart rate up a little bit more. So we call that more of a total body movement. So now we do more of a controlled upper body pulling movement to complement the push, which is the freestanding row. And then if we're doing this sled work right here, how many of you, if you guys are doing sled work, you know it's very much quad dominant. You finish one of those and you're like, ooh. Very rarely, if ever, does somebody get off one of those and go, oh, my glutes or my hamstrings are dead. You're just not getting that type of hip extension. So because that's very quad dominant oriented, what do we put? Lower body. We do a hinge. Right? By the way, the other beauty of sled work that nobody seems to talk about, it's super knee friendly. I have a video actually on YouTube of two of my grandmas that I trained for years. The one lady had bone cancer, knee replacements, all kinds, and they're both in their 80s, and the one grandma is standing on the sled and the other grandma is pushing her. I think I call it like Grandma's Gone Wild or something like that in the video on YouTube. But super knee friendly, and you can go high intensity, push big loads, minimal stress. That's another just side benefit of the sled. And that's why I like this combination, because you're taking exercises that you're already doing, taking equipment that most people already have, sleds, dumbbells. Both are proven protocols, and you're just putting them together in a way that's easy to memorize and that keeps people working and that fits along with the workout. All right, so now this would be a sled push. I'm just going to talk you guys through this because we don't have the sled for this, and you don't have to watch every one of them. You got the theme. So this would be, again, with a sled that has handles up this way, that you'd be like this. The Sorinex sled that does it as the root hog sled. Dumbbell hang cleans, 4 to 6 reps. Keep in mind, none of these reps, are not taken to fatigue. Why? Because I want you to be able to finish the entire complex with intensity. I'm not trying to blast you. And I want good control as well. Just because it's metabolic training doesn't mean form goes out the window. Because I see that in a lot of YouTube videos these days. So, dumbbell hang cleans, what we would do, let me show you that real quick. This is a 2 dumbbell move. And if you're an Olympic lifting Nazi and you're like, oh, Nick, it's not how you do it or whatever, this is not an Olympic lifting event. I'm just doing it to get a little bit more body English in there. So please don't crucify me for that. So all we're looking for here is the dumbbells can be in front or the side. Just up, back down slow. That's it. Sled push. Then we go dumbbell high pulls. Kind of go wide, about nipple level. Again, a little bit of body English in there. The 2 hardest exercises first. Sled push again. When I say 30 to 40 yards, you got to cut that in half. So that means 15 to 20 yards up, 15 to 20 yards back. Why? Okay, you got the sled over there, now you got to go back to the dumbbells. Now, I've had trainers, that's why I bring this up. I've had trainers, that's the first thing that they do. Well, I took that, but I put the sled over there and a dumbbell. Now they got to sprint. Okay, cool. I like that you're trying to get more and more work. My thing is, the last thing that I want to do is sprint after I've pushed that sled. My legs, if I use enough weight, my legs are already like this. And I think the chance of injury has gone up when you start to really fatigue the legs and then you ask someone to sprint. And then you're starting to get them even more tired and they're coming down to this. So what I always say is just find the resistance that challenges you throughout one of these first, and until you can finish about 3 or 4 rounds, not one round, 3 or 4 rounds of a given complex with about 2 minutes break in between, and you're looking at me like this, can I do some more? Fine, do that. I've never had that happen. All right? So don't just think, oh, what else can I do? Do things better. Don't just always do more. Do your workouts better, not just do more stuff. All right. So we would sled push again, 30 to 40. That's with the handles. Dumbbell bent over rows. Boom. Right in here. Double. Again, sled push. And then an RDL to shrug. So a lot of these movements I like are very similar than the other complexes. Here's the other thing you want to look at. What am I doing a lot of with the sled push? That's the high handle push. It's this stuff is very quad, and I'm doing a lot of driving with my upper body. So you notice I took the uppercuts out because I already kind of have that, especially because I'm kind of leaning into it. So there's always a little bit of thought. How can I get the most out of this? The most muscles work and less redundancy. It's those little things you think about that separate you from your colleagues, which, by the way, how many trainers are just in the San Diego area? By the thousands. How many are at this conference right now? What does that tell you about you? What does that tell you about your competition? So make sure you apply this stuff and you use this stuff. And make sure your clients, by the way, know that you're not just taking a few days off and go be party animal, that you're actually learning, spending your time and hard-earned money away from your friends, family, and your job so you can give them a better service. You make sure they know that because they're lucky to have you because you're here. So on the push, same thing. We can make the dumbbell exercises unilateral versions. Everything on the left, everything on the right, then you go to the locomotion. And again, just what I tell my clients so they don't get confused, start each exercise with the same hand. Because believe me, as they get into it, especially as a fatigue, oh, I forgot which side. You just remember, right. Because that'll happen. So a quick example of that, this is a sled push, again with the high handles. One arm assisted dumbbell clean. So I would go heavier. When you go single arm, you can normally go a little heavier because you have a little rotary element to things. So an assisted clean, if I need it, looks like this. Come down, come up, and I just help it. And then I want to try to get it a little eccentric on the way down. Again, if there's a certain exercise that I put in here that you hate for whatever reason, don't do it. Just find something that's equivalent. Focus on the concept we're talking about, not the specific exercises, because that's not worth getting hung up on. So we'll go one lap, again up and back, 30 to 40 yards. One arm swing, both sides, another lap. Freestanding bent over row, one leg, one arm, RDL. All right. I'll tell you what, if you guys are trying to get out of here, this class goes a lot faster when nobody's up here getting beat up. So maybe that's why. Maybe you're thinking about it. Give me the information. I want to go home and take a nap. So low sled plate push. I'll walk you guys through these, and then I'll get someone to do a demo for the farmer walks. So start thinking in your head who wants to jump up, do something. So now we're going to do the plate push. So if in a rug like this, I would take a 45 plate. I like to take dumbbells. If this sled is my plate, I like to take dumbbells. It's easier on the wrist. Put them inside the plate, one next to one another, and we like to push on this end of the dumbbell. So for you guys over here, you can't really see me. Just move it over here. So here's my weight plate. We put 2 dumbbells inside a 45, and we like to push right in there. The really round dumbbells, they don't tend to work as well, unfortunately. But if you have this type of dumbbell, it works great inside the weight plate. If you have a sled, and you want to put some weight onto it, just a quick tidbit here. Stack 5, 45, 5, 45, 5, 45. So much easier to get the plates off. You don't have to worry about smashing your fingers. Plus, it rounds out to a nice even 50 pounds a shot. Plus, now you have a gap inside to hold on, to wrap your hands around a weight plate and go. So we would do the push, dumbbell high pull, then push, dumbbell bent over rows, similar stuff. I keep these exercises basic. Here's another thing. Why do I like to keep these exercises? Okay, the uppercut, that's basic for a lot of people who train with me, but nothing too crazy. Why do I like to keep exercises basic on a situation like this, something that we're using in a fatigue state? I kind of gave the answer away already. Right? That's the last time that you want to try to give your client, athlete, whomever, something new, something they've never tried, never seen before, when they're gassed at the end of a session. That's when you want them fresh. That's number one. Number two, the focus here is intensity over an extended period of time. If it's a new exercise or a combination of new exercises, what do you end up spending your time on? Instruction. More instruction, less time and less energy for intensity. So I like to, when stuff like this, I like to keep the exercises more basic and familiar. And we get a complex, not of complexity, but of cramming a lot of basic stuff together done in a high intensity and something that they're comfortable with. So that way they're thinking about, let me just hit this hard. And they're not worried about anything else. The new stuff, the fancy stuff, earlier in the session. So after the plate push, station 4, again, on these tend to fatigue you a little bit more in the quad. So we go a little bit shorter on these. I said 30 to 40 yards, but I'll tell you I tend to go a little bit shorter on these. More like 10 to 15 yards up, 10 to 15 back. First two are no big deal, man. That third, your quads just start to fire up. And something about being low is just, if you've ever done those before, it just gasses you out. Dumbbell RDL. Plate push, that's station 6. And then the 7th station, you're already on the floor. We just come right off, hit push-ups, whatever variation you like. I have a whole class I teach on push-ups. Talk about different variations and then tweaking the basic push-up, basic stance, hand position, and just have them hit that. And a set of 20 push-ups for someone who's a push-up stud or studette, at the end of one of these is a whole new realm than doing it in the beginning of a session. Especially when you want to start getting to different variations. I mean, we'll have them do stuff we call these breakdancer push-ups. Come in here, the core's already gassed. It's a whole new world. So on the single, there's two ways to progress to go unilateral on this. You can just go the basic I've already hammered home, which you can go unilateral in the dumbbell exercises. Great. If you really want to add an additional challenge, and you're working with someone who you think can handle it, you can go a unilateral drive with the, see if I can just throw this on here for a sec, get it out of the way. This is actually not the best sled to do this one with, but you can go here. Single arm drives. I would use a smaller sled for that normally. 10 yards up, turn around, other arm, 10 yards back. What I'm doing there is we're going palm flat. I'll come over here. I'm not giving you guys any love. I'm sorry. You got to yell at me next time. So just put my palm like that. Here's the pole, just like this. Stiff arm, driving down the floor. So that'll be about 10 yards and 10 yards. So that'd be for someone who's more advanced. So what you would do there is just say start everything left. So one arm dumbbell swing left, 6 to 8. One arm dumbbell swing right, 6 to 8. Sled push or plate push one arm. 10 yards left, 10 yards right, and the sequence continues. And you see the same basic stuff, bent over rows, one leg, one arm RDL, push-up variation. I tend to like those. They're basic movements and they tend to distribute the fatigue. Another thing here, the consistent thing you'll see is I like 7 stations. We've tried some experimenting where we actually start with the locomotion drill first. We've tried some experimentation with doing an 8 station, which is another locomotion exercise. That one I'm cool with. I just found across the board in regards to what I felt from a performance of exercises standpoint, because the locomotion exercises, especially things like the plate push, they really start to gas you quick. And you can start to recover a little bit when you're slowing down and doing a dumbbell row. We find that the weight that they were able to use dropped drastically because we're already putting them in some fatigue. So I like to put the dumbbell exercise first, make that the one that they are the strongest at, or sorry, the weakest at, and put that first. And then kind of go from there. And what that enabled us to do was kind of go 4 and 3, 4 different sets of dumbbells, covering those 4 basics I talked about: push, pull, maybe a total body or 2 pull, whatever, and some sort of hip, right? Because we don't need to do anything that's very knee dominant, because so far we've hit it in all these sled variations already. Make sense? All right. If the person still looks like, hey, I'm looking good, I'm a conditioning stud or studette, guess what? Okay, go 1 more locomotion lap, and that is normally all they need. So that we always have that in our pocket. So that fits really well with that order. So that's why we set it up that way. All right, can somebody volunteer? Otherwise, I'm going to pull one of my, my man, all right. You also get a book, too. What's your name, brother? I didn't hear. John? Joshua. I appreciate it. Nick, nice to meet you. I saw you, a lot of you guys here with the, yeah, how many guys here?
Yeah, it's 16 Marines, and we've got a bunch of our here.
Good for you, man. Thanks for coming. That's awesome. And I love how you guys all showing a love for one another, showing a team. All right, so look, here's what we do with the farmer walk. These are probably the most popular, so we'll save them at the end. I'm guessing on weights, you're a strong dude. I'm sure you can manipulate all these. In general, we got 2 sets of weights: your carry weight and your exercise weight, the ones you're going to do your presses with and those things with. How we generally have found, this is just the general parameters, whatever weight you're going to use for your farmer's walk, you're going to go roughly 40% of that for your lighter set of dumbbells. That normally works for most people. Some people, they can go 50%. Other people are more 35%. So it just tends to round out to around 40% there. Now, because we just kind of picked some random dumbbells for the sake of traveling here and demo, we're not quite honoring that here. We have 55s for the walk, and what do we have here? 30s for the exercises. All right, so we just kind of guessed. And I'll tell you something that's really silly about this. This is one of those things you go, oh, why didn't I think of that? For about a year, when we first came up with this concept, it started with farmer walk complexes. That's where all this originally developed, where we would just intersperse farmers' walks with dumbbells. I was having people use the same set of dumbbells. So I would basically just tailor it towards the, you're limited by the weakest exercise in the chain. So normally that's something overhead if you're putting that in the protocol. So, and we did this for a year. And it was like, hit me one day, I went, why the heck am I limiting somebody who can really go double this weight, if not more, on a walk? I'm really taking away. And people were enjoying it, and they were still getting, it was very metabolic demanding because it's just a lot of work. So it was one of these things I even wrote a whole article about it. And it was like, oh, come on, why didn't you think of that? So as soon as we came up with this, it was like, duh. Then that sparked things with the sled. And that's how you go, oh, I think we're onto something. Because this became very popular, too. It was one of the favorite things to do when trainers would come in for mentorships, athletes of all ages, clients. Easy to learn. They pick it up, right? And you can even tell your clients, look, you don't want to do anything? Give me 10 minutes. Do these. 3 rounds. You're out. Total body workout. So it can be that kind of express workout as well. So, let's just run through the movements here real quick, all right? So pick these up, we'll go, and if anything that you feel like is not going to fit well with you, just say, hey, Nick, let's do something else. Cool? So we're going to rack position, and we'll go like a front squat. Just 2 reps just to kind of warm up for things. Yep, and just go as deep as you can control. Beautiful. Keep them in hand. So after that, you would switch, and you go to the dumbbells. So next one over here would be dumbbell overhead push press. You cool with that? Just dip, drive, right? Just 2 reps. Easy down. Good. All right. Bent over row. Let's just do a couple reps there just to warm it up. Good. And then 2 reps RDL to shrug. Dumbbells in front. Yep. Good. Okay. Excellent. All right. So put them down for a second. Just let your grip rest for a second. So one of the things, he did a great job. He showed good control of everything. One of the things that we coach with these is I want to use a weight light enough that I want you to rep them pretty quick. So go as quick as you can with good control. All right? So your reps are up there if you ever need a reference, but I'll coach you through it. So we're going to go, your call, 6 to 10 reps. So why don't we go 8 to 10 so you feel good, right? Front squat. Then you'll pick those up. Let's walk from the sled to the projector and back. And then I'll just call them out. All right? You go as fast as you can control. Start when you're ready, brother. Yep, right up. Good. Good control. Perfect. As long as he can keep good technique, I'm cool with him moving fast. It increases the intensity. So this way you guys can see how these work in real time. So you walk. Good. Nice left, right. Get there as fast as you can. Easy turn. Good. And make sure you put them back with good control. Don't just slam them down. All right? Next one is push press. 4 to 6. So we'll say 5 to 6. You're only doing 1 set. Give me a little bit more of a slower eccentric on the way down. All right? Explode them up. Power. Easy down. Good. Perfect. That way we benefit from the eccentric overload there. Total body up. Rear shoulder down. Then the next is your walks again. You cool with being called Josh, or you go by Joshua? All right. Yeah, right? All right, Josh, you're looking good, brother. Don't you like that posture people get when they pick up something heavy? Bent over rows. We'll go for 6. Power it in, control out. Good. No momentum, no momentum. Yep, you can still move quick with not getting too much momentum in there. And then 1 more lap. Man, you guys aren't even cheering my man on. Come on. All right, now we got the eye of the tiger. Look at that face change. That's good. That's all right. I'm not a rah-rah guy either. All right, dumbbell shrug. Dumbbell RDL to shrug, Joshua, all right? How's the grip doing? Good. So this one here, just mid-shin, boom. Here to mid-shin, you can power out of those. Give me a shrug at the top. Good, and just a little bit quicker now. We'll get the whole 12 on these. Now, he's got good grip strength. And that weight is not as heavy for him, and this one isn't either. But a lot of people's grip starts to gas out here, so we'll start to transition them after about 2 laps to the shoulder carry. Nice job, brother. Thank you. Catch me at the end, and we'll walk over to the booth and get you a book, all right? Yeah, see? One set of, one exercise, you want to take a rest. One set of those, you want to go home and take a nap, right? Just like you already want to do after a full day at TSAC. So, this one is probably my favorite. We're winding this down, guys. Probably my favorite. The unilateral version. Oh, I missed the parentheses there. So, you'll do all your farmer walk, all your carries on your right side, and all of your dumbbell exercises on your left side. Why? So you're not just killing your grip, and you're distributing some of the fatigue. Then you take a short break, depending on your conditioning level, 30 to 90 seconds, recovery level, and then you just reverse that. So if I had to pick one that's my favorite, that's the one. Because you get a lot of core involvement, you get a lot of unilateral work. We all tend to have one side that's stronger than the other. That brings that out. Plus, there's a lot of people who don't have sleds. And they don't have, if they do, they don't have a lot of ability to maneuver with it. Even in a big box gym setting, you can still carry down, you can still find a little lane, you can go in the aerobic room. Or you can kind of, weave around the one machine and weave around. We do that in my gym. All right, because I go to a big box gym as well. So, I'll run you through these exercises real quick. You don't need me to demonstrate what a one-arm farmer walk is. It's obvious. The one coaching point, so I'd use the heavy dumbbells for that, with them is I just say try to keep your nose over your belly button. Because I know the weight's too damn heavy if you're walking like this. I want to be able to see this. I'm coming over so I can hang with you guys for a little bit. So, reverse lunge. So if I carried on my left side, everything that I'm going to do with the dumbbell exercise is going to be on my right. So with the reverse lunge, if I'm holding this in my right side, I like to step back with the right leg. So we get that kind of cross-body thing happening there. It just feels awkward when you do that same side. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that or you can never do that. But if you're training with me and we're doing this protocol, if it's the dumbbell's on the right, we're stepping back with the right. So it's kind of like that punching mechanism, this hip, this shoulder idea. So we're only staying on the same side. Then I'll do carry again, 1 lap, 20 up. And this one we like to go a little bit more, 20 to 25 yards per shot, because they don't fatigue you as much. Dumbbell uppercut. So if I carried in my left, go to my right. You can do turn, or you can do a dip and drive. And look at my hips there, just a little bit of direction on this specific exercise. Freestanding bent over row, that's here. And one leg, one arm, RDL. Again, if it's in the right hand, I'm standing on the left leg. I'm not as interested in doing this same side stuff. Did you guys over there see that all right? Good? Okay. So, just some stuff on program design. And then we'll let you step. Any questions about any of this stuff already? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. All right? Good.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Can you give us an idea of some of the pre-lift or some of the postural mechanical stuff that you like to do to warm them up before they go into loading themselves? Like, is there any bit of a pre-lift bump, like at the set, like any mechanical or any?
You mean to this or just in general?
Like before something like this, like.
Oh, okay.
Metabolically, so you don't want to stunt them, but you can't shock them by them going from 0 to 60.
Great question. So let me repeat your question so they can hear it as well. So to make sure I got it right. So your question is, what do we kind of do to prep them for this so we don't just shock them and blast them right into this like I just did to the few poor folks in the room here? Okay. So great question. So if there's 2 situations in where we use protocols like this, or that we have been used. For the most part, they're used at the end of a workout as like the conditioning part, along with a comprehensive strength program, and preceding that is a comprehensive warm-up. So all that has led them into this. So that covers that one. In certain situations where, so that's when we're kind of covering everything. In certain situations where I'm working with like a figure competitor or like a football player or a basketball player, especially whose main goal is to try to like gain 10 pounds of muscle, let's say. So we're really focused on physiological hypertrophy, structural hypertrophy. But I don't want them to lose some sort of conditioning. One of the things we like to do at my gym for a while is what we call Circuit Saturday, which is just one cross-training day where we do purely metabolic type work. And in that case, we'll still like to throw something like this toward the end of that type of workout. So we might do heavier sled pushes and pulls, like sets of 20 yards up where you're just gassed at the end of that because the weight is so much higher. We might do barbell complexes as well. We might do circuits. But none of this is ever just put in the beginning of something that they're blasted right to it. That answer your question? All right. So that Circuit Saturday we just use as a cross-training day for anybody if your direct goal is something else. We still want you to get those other components of fitness and also just add variety. So the bodybuilders and figure competitors love that day. And they love these especially. All right, so this kind of answers that. When to use them, for the most part, we'd use them at the end of a workout. How many complexes, when I say complexes, I don't mean barbell or dumbbell, I mean this specific type of complex, hybrid locomotion complexes. Actually, you know what? My answer to that wasn't specific to that one. So two answers. We'll normally do we'll pick one complex if we're going to use it. So one of the versions I showed you. We'll do one per workout, anywhere from like 4 to 6, 3 to 5, 3 to 5, 4 to 6, that's depending on who we're working with. And we rarely, some people ask me, well, why don't you change the locomotion drill in between the dumbbells? So maybe do a half and half, a sled, 2 of the sled and 2 of the farmer walk, or 2 of the one and 1 of the other. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't do that. It just demands more setup, more time, more transition, and as people get tired, they start to forget which is which. So I like to keep the locomotion one consistent and change up the dumbbells. I just find that works out from a logistics perspective, especially when you're training multiple people at a time. In regards to weight, you want to choose a weight load both on the resistance that you're using on the locomotion aspect, dumbbells, sled, what have you, and on the dumbbell exercises, the rows, the RDL, stuff like that, that allows you to complete the entire complex, to finish it, showing deliberate control, but still challenges you at the end. So I do, just like you would do a set of bicep curls or anything. If you're going to do a set of 8, you pick a weight that you can't do for 12. But it doesn't mean at 8 you're going like this, and you're trying to buy your back surgeon a new Porsche. Right? You still be able to do it in good control. We do this the same way. That's how we choose the load. So there's got to be some experimentation in there. And sometimes you have to reduce the load as the sets progress. That's fine. Tempo, I just say go as fast as possible as long as you can demonstrate good control. I don't want to see lots of momentum taken over and backs rounding and all that kind of stuff. But I do like some speed. So like I said, about 3 to 5 rounds. If you're going unilateral complexes, and this is specific to the farmer walk complex, I should have delineated that there, because the regular unilaterals just go left, go right. If you're doing the farmer walk style, where you're going all carries on the right, all dumbbell on the left, you're going to need to rest a little bit in between that. I said 30 to 90 seconds, and then you'll hit the other side. If you're doing that, then we'll rest after you've done both sets. So the left side is done a carry one time, and the right side is done both sequences, or a carry in the exercises and a carry in the exercises. Then we'll rest 2 to 3 minutes. We'll consider that one full set. Then we'll rest 2 to 3 minutes and repeat. Did I say that and confuse you, or did I kind of jumbled my words there a little bit? Did you get it? Okay. And for the rest of them, if you're just doing switching in between, like left, right, sled push, sled pull, something like that, we'll like to do about 2 to 4 minutes in between rounds. And then progressions, the last thing, basic progressive overload, the same stuff you do with lifts. You can go heavier on the dumbbells you carry, heavier on the dumbbells that you are doing the exercises with. You can add a rep. So instead of doing 4 of everything, do 5 of everything. Or you could just decrease the rest. Basic stuff. So in a program, if you're doing these once a week, just for ease of conversation here, if you're doing this once a week, I like to keep the same locomotion complex in a program for about 4 to 6 weeks and progress from there. My favorite way to progress is add 1 rep. So we normally keep about a 2-rep window. I'll say 4 to 6. We'll start at 4, and then the next week we'll just add a 5, add a 6. Once we get that, then we start cutting down the rest. Those are my 2 favorite ways to do it. Right? Rarely do I find that we get crazy with changing the farmer walk weight or the sled, because a lot of times it doesn't change. They're already close to their threshold. And if you do a lot of sled work and farmer walks, a 5-pound difference over 50 yards carry, 25 up, 25 carried 3 and 4 times, that really accumulates fast. And then they're putting the weight down in the middle. So we find that we change more the dumbbell exercises. All right, so how early are we? I normally go over. 10 minutes early? This is the first time I've ever finished early class ever. All right, if you guys have any questions, I'll hang here for a little bit. We'll answer them. Thanks for sticking this out with me. I know you're tired. I see some of you guys fading. I would be too if I was getting my brain full all day. So thanks for being here. I appreciate it, and I'll be hanging in the store next week.